All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we're going to be checking out OP-08's leaders. That's right, we got some spoilers lined up. We have to stay on top of the game, guys. We got to stay on top of our game, stay on top of the market watch and all that kind of stuff. We have to know what leaders are coming out. We have to know what they're playing in the East, so that way we can, adjust accordingly. You don't want to get caught slacking, right? Well, in today's video, we're going to be checking out OP-08 leaders. I'm going to give you guys a full breakdown of what I think of them, and judge them in that way. So real quick, let me tell you the actual format of this video, because we're going to be talking about quite a bit. First, I'm going to do the leader review in general, right? I'm going to tell you what I think of each leader, like in a vacuum, just what their effect does, not in conjunction to other cards. How strong do I think their leader is by itself? Okay. From there, I'm going to tell you where I think these leaders are going to line up in the meta. Then from there, we're going to look at a very miniature tier list. I have another tier list coming out in the future, probably in like 2 or 3 weeks. This will not be that. This will just be a miniature tier list where I predict these cards might end up in the near future here. And then we're going to look at a game on the sim for Red Green Oden, and then we're going to check out the deck that I was using in that sim game, and I'll tell you my final thoughts. I try to cover all my bases, guys. Get a sim game for the people who like the games on the sim. Got some news and some updates for people who want to get updated on that stuff, or even like in this case, spoilers. So we got some spoilers coming in. I know for some people this is a real bummer, because guess what? After I do the leaders, I'm about to knock out every single color once a day from here on. So my next 6 videos are planned out. They are going to be a breakdown of what I think of every card from every color in OP-08. Okay? So you know what you're getting into, guys, even for the next week. Big spoilers and all that good stuff. One thing, too, I want to mention right before we dive into this. I know some people are like turned off by this idea. So am I, guys, as far as like spoilers. These are 4 months out for us. These ones we're about to look at. I wish they would catch us up with the East, okay? Just full transparency. I wish they would I wish they would catch us up with them over in the East. But for the time being, we really need to know what cards are coming out. We need to know what leaders are coming out. Because guess what? People at your locals are following spoilers just like I am, and they're going to be like, dude, have you seen that new card? Have you seen this? Have you seen that? And you start feeling disenfranchised, like, no, I'm not following any of that. Well, I try to do the stuff to keep us all caught up. You know what I mean? I feel like it's important to, like I said earlier, to stay on top of your game, to stay ahead of the game. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's dive in, guys. First up here, we got Red Green Tony Chopper. Let me zoom in a little bit for y'all. Whoop, there we go. So Tony Chopper. Finally, I know a lot of people were wanting this leader, and there's a lot of leaders that people still want, by the way. I know that, guys, and hopefully Bandai will get on that eventually. But here we go. We got Tony Chopper, 5,000 power, 4 life leader, red-green dual color leader, animal, Drum Kingdom, Straw Hat Crew type leader. With the effect of activate main once per turn, give up to 3 of your animal or Drum Kingdom type characters up to 1 rested Dawn card each. Okay. I'm going to tell you what I think about this, like, in a vacuum, guys. Like, in other words, like, I'm trying to tell you what I think about this without knowledge of any other cards, because I don't know what the other cards are going to be yet. I haven't read them all. You know what I mean? So just talking about this leader's effect in a vacuum, I have to compare it to other cards in the card pool, or other leaders, excuse me, within the card pool of red and green. And the first leader that pops in my head, I'm sure you can imagine, is Zoro. Zoro will attach 1 Dawn, and he can affect up to 5 characters. And it affects himself, too. So it's like you attach 1 Dawn, you get 6,000 powers worth, potentially. That's very strong. Now, with a leader like this is close to that, so the support that this character gets will really, really matter. It'll really matter as far as like how strong this leader will be. But I will say this, the effect on paper, I can just give a 5 out of 10. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's extremely average. And this is like the same case that happened. I gave a rating for Boa Hancock a while back whenever I did the reviews of OP-07. And, excuse me, in there I talked about how I thought she was like a 4 out of 10 or like a 3.5 out of 10. The most I would increase that to, like looking back, because in the video I will say, like, I missed something. I was just thinking of returning your own characters to get maximum value, because that's how I like to play the game. Like, yeah, bouncing another person's character back is fine to draw a card, but you got rid of a card to draw a card. So you kind of cycled a card to slow them down, but you gave them their card back, or potentially bottom decked it, whatever. But hear me out. I still think that leader is at best a 5 out of 10. Talking about Boa, talking about her leader effect in a vacuum. Same thing with this. I see it like as a 5 out of 10, because while Boa was limited, like you have to have 5 less cards in hand or your removal does nothing. You have a You know, it's forcing you to play a certain way. Let me say it like that. You're being forced to remove cards from your hand so that when you use removal, now you can draw cards. And I didn't like that. I still don't like that. With this leader here, you're being forced to use your Dawn first. So anytime that there's a stipulation like that where they're forcing you to do something in order to benefit from the leader effect, I'm a little annoyed by that. It was already enough that they're forcing it to be animal type characters or Drum Kingdom type characters. I'm not saying there aren't any good ones, because we'll see what's coming out in this set, and we'll have to check out what's already here from the past from these types. But we already have to have 3 specific kinds of characters on the board. They have to be animal or Drum Kingdom, or excuse me, we have to have 2 different types, animal or Drum Kingdom type characters on the board. Then, if I have 3 rested Dawn cards, I can attach it to them. So let me explain, one more thing before we move on. There are different orientations to Dawn. So you guys know the red Chopper card that just came out in EV01. It's a 3-cost, 4,000 power, 1k counter blocker, attached to, swing, and then minus 3,000 power to a character for the turn. You can't use those 2 Dawn cards from him to attach to other characters. That's not how it works, because those are not rested Dawn cards. Even though the character's rested, it doesn't matter. That Dawn is considered attached. It's a total different classification. So I'm not a huge fan of this. I'll give it a 5 out of 10, but I'm really leaning more towards a 4 out of 10, because again, you have to. This is a specific leader here. We've seen a lot of leaders in the past where there's like no specificity. It's just like with Zoro. Zoro says attach 1 Dawn, all your characters get plus 1,000. It doesn't matter if it's Whitebeard Pirates. It doesn't matter if it's Straw Hat Crew or fill in the blank. So yeah, I'm gonna go 4 out of 10 with this one, guys. Sorry if that offends anybody, but it is what it is. We'll check out the alt art. Not my favorite alt art. I actually like the other one better. I like this version, this leader card better than the alt art. But who knows? Once you see it in foil, that does change it a little bit. It might look a lot better in foil. Okay. Next up, Marco. So we got a 5,000 power, 4-life leader, red-blue, Whitebeard Pirates type. And the effect is Dawn ×1, activate main, once per turn, draw 1 card. And place 1 card from your hand at the top or bottom of your deck. Then give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000 power during this turn. So this is exactly what I was talking about when I was rating Boa Hancock. Notice this card here is just attach 1 Dawn to your leader, which improves your leader by 1,000 power right away. Then you can draw 1 card just right away. And it's like a cycle effect, I understand. Like, you don't just get to draw a card and then that's it. No, you draw a card and then you can either set a card on top of your life or put it down to the bottom of your deck. And then minus 2,000 power to a character for the turn. See, like, this for me is an S tier type of effect here. I would give this a 9 out of 10. And that's only because I don't like to give 10 out of 10s, because who knows what, I'm sure someone will find some drawback to this effect. But guys, now I will say this. I do know a little bit about this leader already. A lot of the cards from OP-08 I kind of know of, but haven't really put a lot of time into it and like invested like thoughts and like deck building into it. This leader I have. I will link below for those interested. If I remember, I will link below my guide to Red Blue Marco. I've already done a guide on it. I think this leader is extremely solid. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much details. Let me at least go into the. Actually, and before I forget, let me go to the alt art. See, the alt art for this one I think is very unique, and it's very much different from the standard art. Like, notice the difference in style. I like that, and I think the alt art for this one is really solid. But you look at the Chopper one, it's basically just the same exact. Well, it's not the same exact art style, I will say that. But again, it just seems too close to the original. Whereas this one just looks very, very different. And I understand. It is what it is. Let me not pick too much on the art. That's just the artist and that's just the art and the art teacher and me coming out. So with this leader, I have to say this is like a 9 out of 10, because guess what? You are not limited to Whitebeard Pirates. Like, remember what we just looked at with Chopper? You are limited to animal and Drum Kingdom type characters. This effect here says I don't care what you're running. Okay, now yes, it does benefit from Whitebeard Pirates type. Like for a card like the 7-cost Ace, no problem. But we can run any kind of deck we want to through this leader. It is totally malleable. It is totally generic in its effect, where I can make an entire, red-blue Straw Hat deck if I wanted, right? Straw Hat Pirates crew deck. Or, yeah, Straw Hat Pirates, y'all know what I'm trying to say. I can make that kind of deck through this leader if I want to. I can make like an all aggro deck. I can make more of a control deck, because it has minus 2,000 power put on top of that. This effect is just incredible. I don't want to spend too much time on it, because like I said, I'll even link down below in the comment section. I've already done an entire video on Marco telling you like my full breakdown of that, and an entire you know, deck list and everything, the direction I think it's going to go. But overall, guys, I think this leader is absolutely incredible. A lot of people are saying that it might not be able to compete in this meta because of all the removal. That's an honest analysis of the situation, because that's one other thing I want to say about this leader, Chopper, before moving on. You do have to consider, once we get down to like where these leaders are going to line up in the meta, how realistic will it be to have 3 or more animal / Drum Kingdom type characters on the board at one time to get these benefits, right? The same idea with Marco, you know. But the nice thing about, whoops, let me go to there we go. The nice thing about this effect is you don't have to have a certain amount of characters on the board. But, you know, I don't want, like I said, I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes. Let me just say this. As a whole, in general, I think this leader is extremely, extremely versatile, very solid. I think this is a 9 out of 10 leader effect. Okay, next up we got Carrot. Okay, this is a 5 life, 5,000 power, green, Minx type leader with the effect of activate main once per turn. If you have a Minx type character, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. I just had something pop in my head with Red Blue Marco. Guys, I want to mention one more thing. I do apologize. I want to mention one more thing about Marco before moving on to Carrot. This leader is very reminiscent of Blue-Black Sakazuki, where you are cycling a card with this effect, potentially, or you can even just put it back on top if you don't want to cycle it, where you want to get it next turn. But you're using this effect to basically cycle a card, and it has the effect of minus 2,000 power. Well, think about Sakazuki. Now, his was free, but it was cycle a card, and then it was also -1 cost for the turn whenever you attacked. So, I have a good feeling about this leader. I think it's going to be pretty solid. Okay, sorry, guys. My apologies. I didn't want to leave that out. Now for Carrot. So back to this. This was this one is much more restrictive than what we just saw. Like I said with Marco, it doesn't care what's in your deck. It doesn't care if you're running Straw Hat Crew, Whitebeard Pirates. It doesn't care what you're running. It doesn't matter at all. This leader, though, is bound to Minx-type characters. And the effect is rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Like that hurts me. I'm not going to lie. Because I feel like Perona is just a better version of this, where it's like, okay, yeah, it can only rest a 4 or less. This one rests a 5 or less. Let me give the perks to Carrot real quick before I go down a little spiel about Perona. Carrot can rest a 5 or less, so that can rest like a Sabo. 5 is a very important number in this game currently. 5 cost Purple Eustace Kid, all of the brothers, all of the 5 cost 3 brothers. 5 is a very important number. But obviously, Green-Black Perona, you know, can just reduce cost because it has the black card pool, and it can go from there, and it can rest even bigger than a 5, right? Like, yes, it becomes more situational, but think of it like this. For Perona's effect, there is no stipulation. It is just, you know, choose one. You can either -1 cost for the turn or rest a 4 or less. It doesn't care. It doesn't care if you have a Minx or a Navy or a, you know, Thriller Bark Pirates type character down. It doesn't care about that. But this leader is forcing you to have a Minx type character in play. I am not a fan of that. I still think the effect is very powerful. Like, again, this is in a vacuum, assuming we have Minx cards that we can even use our leader's effect. I would give this, like, probably like a... I will give it like a 6 out of 10. I'll give this effect a 6 out of 10 because resting a character allows for a lot of early game dominance. I'm sorry, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Almost a 7 because it's stuck at 5, but 5 is still a very solid number, and it's like an above average number in this game where you're going to be able to hit most targets in the game with that. But at the same time, with the meta slowing down, maybe that's not true, because like we see decks like Enel, like you're not going to see a character under 5 unless it's like Gidatsu. You know what I mean? I guess it could rest like Shirahoshi or their new little 2-cost, the EB01 blocker Shirahoshi, the 2-cost one. It's not worthless, but when they start dropping, you know, Yamatos, Aces, and what's the other one, Katakuris, this effect is just dead at that point in the game. So that's why I give maybe I do go back to 6 out of 10, but I don't know, 6.5 out of 10, hard to say. And if you guys have any comments, questions, suggestions, if I missed something, please put it down in the comment section below. Okay, and here's the alt art for it. Looks really nice. Go ahead and pause and check this out. I'm not going to comment on this one. It's like some kind of animal person. I'm assuming she's like a bunny. I guess it's a Minx type character. Okay, I guess that's like part bunny, part human or something, or some type of animal and then human hybrid. Very cool. Okay, this is where my lack of knowledge with certain parts in the actual anime and the manga, it catches up. Where I'm like, dude, I don't know what this creature is. The face reminds me of some kind of bunny rabbit. you know, with the ears up here, but it's still a human. Like, especially this one looks more human than the other one. And look, one hand has like a paw, the other one has like a normal human hand. Y'all help me out in the comment section below, guys. I'm lost. Very cool, though. Very cool art. Very solid art, I will say that, though. Like, as far as the artist goes and the execution, it looks really good. Okay, next up, we've got King. Okay, this is a 4-life, 5,000 power, dual-colored leader, purple-black, Animal Kingdom Pirates type. And this has Activate Main, Dawn -2. Once per turn, of course. Dawn -2. Choose one. So if you have 5 or less cards in hand, you can draw 1 card, or give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 cost during this turn. And it's not like Perona, where like, okay, the first part is if you have 5 or less cards in hand, draw 1 card. Like Perona, her effect requires your opponent to have 5 or less cards in hand to either have them discard a card or do -3 cost. This one, if you don't have, like if you have more than 5 cards in hand, you could still do the bottom effect. It's not like saying if you have 5 or less cards in hand, then you can give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 cost during this turn. You can always use that effect, well, you know, choose one, activate main once per turn. But the only thing that has a stipulation is the draw 1 card. I don't like that it has a stipulation, but in this case, I will say, if you can't meet that 5 or less cards in hand stipulation, or that, you know, restriction to draw a card, you still can give something -2 cost for the turn. And the really nice thing about this effect is it's Dawn -2. That might sound weird, like how is that a benefit? Well, but there are cards in this game, like Eustace Kid, or like Black Widow, that just, you know, for those who don't know, Black Widow's a new card coming out. Don't worry, guys, we will talk about that eventually. There's a new card coming out, and there's going to be continuously new cards coming out for purple that return Dawn cards after you're doing, you know, the Dawn minus effects. And there are other cards in the game that benefit from Dawn minus effects, like Kamazo or Kalamazoo, the Manslayer card. I can't remember, where it's like whenever you return 2 Dawn to your deck, to your Dawn deck, you're going to be able to pop a 2 or less. Well, guess what? In this situation, you can go Dawn -2 to the cost of a character for the turn, and now you're popping a 4 or less with his effect. This leader, I'm going to give like a solid, I don't know. I'm torn between like 7.5 to 8.5. Because, now hear me out. A lot of people are thinking like, what? Have you seen the cards associated with this? Yes, I have. But remember, guys, in this first part, I'm talking about the leader in a vacuum. I'm talking about just the leader by itself. What does it do? How do I rate it? The Dawn -2 is a plus. Like I said, it's a negative and a plus. Early on, it hurts, but later in the game, it's actually a benefit. The ability to refresh your hand when you're getting low in cards, massive benefit. And they give up to the bottom one there is actually the least relevant effect. The give up to one of your opponent's characters -2 for the turn. I'm sure that will get plenty of use, but I think not as much as like the drawing effect. We'll have to see, right? We'll have to see how the deck ends up being built and how it pans out. But I will go on the safer side. I'll say 8.5 out of 10, guys. I think this leader is very, very strong. Maybe close to 9 out of 10. And y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section below with y'all's ratings, because I want to know what y'all think too. Just I ask you guys, just please keep it respectful. These are just my opinions, guys. That's all we're dealing with here. Okay, now for the alt art, by the way, not a big fan of the alt art compared to this. I think this is incredible. The standard art for this with the sword like at your face, like, you know, he's like ready to attack. And you got the flames going off of him there. Yeah, the flames are in the background here, but look at this guy. Like, I don't know. This art looks incredible to me. They both look incredible. Let me say that. They both look incredible. Not trying to be disrespectful. But I really like what's going on here a lot better. It's something about the composition, the way it's framed. So notice, like, in this corner here, there's a lot going on. Without taking too much time, up here in the corner, you have his face. He's in full control. He's pointing at you. He's challenging you. Okay? This composition is aggressive, and this composition actually shows a lot about the confidence of the character. With this one, the way the lips are, the way the mouth is like downward angle, like he looks sad as opposed to like intimidating, right? Like there's a lot more going on there. Whereas this one, there's more of a sinister smile. The way they did the eyes is a little bit more on the, it's a little more on the crazy side, right? Like you don't want to mess with me, right? That's what's going on here, and it looks really good. Whereas this one, the eyes seem a little too big to me as far as like the face goes, and there's not enough going on for me here. But I understand what they were dealing with, right? Like all of these characters, all of this, how do I say it? Sorry guys, I know this is a little bit clumsy. There's a specific type of art or art style that they have for each alt art leaders per set. And for these, it's all about the close-up on the face, right? But there's a way to still do that and still be interesting. Like, look at the Marco. We've got this elbow pushing up to the right corner. What is the exact opposite of this right corner? It's the other arm pushing to that corner. It almost breaks up like a playing card, like an actual old, like, you know, like a jack of you know, whatever suit you want. And then down here you got his body, where it's like, you know, he is this character. He is a Phoenix, right? Well, guess what is on the exact opposite of this corner? It is the Phoenix Flames, right? This is a beautiful composition, absolutely incredible. Whereas like this one's just lacking a little bit because there's not even really a background; it's just the character. This one has a lot going on with the flames back there. This one's a little plain, but it at least takes up more of the room than the Chopper one does. And maybe that's one of the reasons I don't like this one as much, because I feel like there's just so much blank space. Whereas these other ones have taken up the page at least. And at least this one does have something interesting going on in the background, I will say that. But something about this pouty face I don't like. I'm not a big fan of it. That's just me personally. Okay, and again, y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. I guess I'm in art mode today, guys. You know, being an art teacher, I'm just in art mode today. Okay, next up we got Charlotte Pudding. Let me move this over a little bit. Charlotte Pudding. This is a 4-life, 5,000 power, purple-yellow leader. Big Mom Pirates type. Okay, it's yellow and Big Mom Pirates, so Tin Lin's going in this deck probably 9 times out of 10, right? Let's see the effect. When attacking, already, you know, I guess on a leader it's not as bad, but I don't like when they force you to do something outside of like an activate main. But all right, let's see. So you may turn 2 cards from the top of your life cards face up. You may turn 2 cards from the top of your life cards face up. So, in other words, if your top life cards are already face up, you can't like go down to the next 2. You know what I mean? All right, so that's fine though. But then the effect is add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. So it's built-in ramp. And just know, guys, I do have like a pretty good idea about most of these leaders, but some of them I know more than others. This one I've only glanced at a few times, so I haven't really sat down and read this and analyzed and tried to make a list out of it and tried to rate it. So with this one in particular, this one does not seem very good to me. I understand you're trying to ramp to Tinlin. Okay, that's the obvious what we're going for here, right? But we're gonna have to see what happens along the way, right? Because and this will probably help out a lot when I see what kind of support they're giving purple Big Mom Pirates going forward. Because I know about all the yellow stuff. That's been out since, you know, that's what we're dealing with now with the yellow stuff. But I'll have to see what kind of purple Big Mom Pirate support they're going for there, or if they're going to try and balance it in a way that like yellow has the Big Mom Pirate stuff and purple's more about ramping, even if it isn't Big Mom Pirates. Maybe you can help in that way by running like the 4-cost Bond Clay and stuff like that. So let me say this. Let's look at it from like the best side, or at least what I think would be the best side of this. Say you go second. Okay, your opponent goes first. Now it's your turn. You know, go second. Draw a card. Pass. Next turn, your opponent goes. Now you're up to 4 Dawn. And then you attack with Pudding here. Use the effect to reveal your top 2 triggers coming. That's a little scary because you're showing them what's coming, right? But then you go to 5 Dawn. And then you play out the 4-cost Bond Clay for the turn, and you go to 6 Dawn. So now you can technically get your Tinlin on turn 4, right? Did I do the math right? Y'all help me out if I messed that up. That's nice. That's for sure very nice. But playing down a Bond Clay on turn 4 has its downsides, right? Because if you're running against anything that has black in it, that card's gone. If you're running against Red Purple Law, that card's gone. If you're running against anything meta currently, that card is almost worthless, right? I mean, there's a few decks that probably won't worry about it as much, like something in the blue card pool. But generally speaking, that is almost a dead turn, and you're just trying to ramp up to get to your Tinlin. And I think we'll have to see how things go. But if I'm not mistaken, if everything I'm thinking is going to pan out with this leader the way it's going to be built, I think it's going to really struggle against aggressive decks. Now, if they can get past the early game, if they're going to be able to put enough blockers in here or ways to prevent damage, or if they get lucky enough with the triggers, we all know how the lottery goes with those. You know, the casino machine goes for those life cards. If they don't get enough love or support from that, I don't see how this leader could survive an early, you know, I don't see how this leader can survive, you know, 4 turns of Red Purple Law just blasting off at them while they're trying to ramp to Tinlin. That's my biggest concern with this leader. But Here's what I think. Okay, the actual, so probably the best way to play with this, y'all hear me out, guys. And again, y'all always bounce back ideas to me in the comment section below if you think of anything. Maybe you want to go first with this leader and just use the effect once. Maybe that's like the big play here, where like you go, okay, you know, turn 1 pass, or turn 1 pudding. You can do the pudding searcher. Okay, turn 2 though, smash in for 5 or whatever you need to, depending on what kind of cards are in your hand. Maybe even play Parasparrow on turn 3. But smash in for 5 with the leader to ramp a Dawn, show your top 2 life cards. That's fine. Maybe it will intimidate them if they're like really strong triggers. But then and then play out a Parasparrow, and now you're on the even curve, where now you're still seeing your Lin on turn 5, even if you went first. Maybe that's the best bet for this kind of leader. I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. I'm not head over heels on this leader. I understand it's about ramping to 10 Lin, but if that's the entire point of this leader, is maybe to get, you know, some type of tempo in that regard, like by ramping so quickly you actually get a lot of tempo. I have to give this like a 6 out of 10. I don't think it's bad. I'm just going to be honest, guys. I get it. I get it. You're trying to ramp to 10 Lin, or you're trying to ramp to 7 Lin, or 8 Katakuri, or maybe even 9 Yamato. Depends on what you're running. 10 Ace, 10 cost Ace coming out in OP-07. But I'm not like I'm not impressed by this effect, because you might get to use it 1 time in order to generate that massive amount of advantage. Or if you get to use it twice, we'll have to see. Now, going back to the support cards, if this leader gets a bunch of cards that can turn your life cards face up, okay, you know, that's pretty good. Then maybe you can get 2 uses out of this effect. I don't know. We'll have to see. But generally speaking, I feel like this effect will go off once a game. That's what it seems like to me. And I have seen some games from the East of people already playtesting with this and like seeing how it runs. And I feel like this effect goes off like once a game, maybe twice, but then it's almost like a dead card. Because so that makes me think like maybe the way to go with this deck is like something to do with removal, like excuse me, like purple, like 9 cost Kaido, where you're returning a bunch of Dawn cards, and that way you can ramp back up again faster. Maybe something like that. I don't know. We'll have to see. We will have to see. But I'm giving this card a 6 out of 10, guys. I know that's probably going to upset a lot of people. Sorry, guys. Okay, the alt art looks great, though. The alt art looks really good. Let me zoom in for y'all. You know, it's got the big eyes. I think that's like a thing in anime where they go for the big eyes. The hair looks good. It's filling up the entire the whole entire section is filled out. This looks good to me. I like it. The cross hands, that's interesting. You know, it's like you know, she's very what's the word? She's trying to get you to drop your guard so she can stab you in the back, right? That's like the what I get from this. Like, oh, I'm perfectly innocent. You know, I'm this I'm this very innocent person here. You can trust me while I ramp to 10 cost, you know, Lin and smash you with it. Very cool. I like that a lot. Okay, last one, guys. We got Kalgara. Let me see how we're doing on time. Okay, we're not doing too bad. So next up, we have Kalgara. Let me zoom in for y'all. He is a 5,000 power, 5 life, mono yellow leader. Okay, Jaya, Sky Island, Shandian, warrior type. The effect is Dawn ×1. When attacking, play up to 1 Shandian warrior type character card from your hand with a cost equal to or less than the number of Dawn cards on your field. Okay. If you do, add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. Wow. So just looking at this card, you know, in a vacuum, again, I don't know much about, I haven't looked a lot into this set just yet, guys. I just know the cards are finally out, and now I can review them and share my thoughts with you guys. That effect is nice. Okay, if you can get anything down, I mean, so right away, there's no way in the world they're going to print a 10 cost Shandian warrior card, right? Like I think we can just assume that, because that would be insane if there's a 10 cost Shandian warrior type card, and when you're on 10 Dawn, you get to just play that card out for free, draw the top card of your life, and then, you know, go from there, and you still have 9 Dawn to work with. Excuse me. So I would not be surprised if like the highest Shandian warrior card is going to be somewhere between a 5, 6, or 7 cost. If they printed an 8 cost or a 9 cost Shandian warrior card, I'd be surprised. Just going by like a balance perspective, like a balance standpoint. But this effect is potentially very strong for ramping cards out, and this is Sky Island. So if you're running like a Sky Island package, you know, well, I'll have to check what all is Sky Island and Shandian Warrior like searchable together. But if there is some type of like decent package there to include Ohm and Holy or Holly, whatever the dog's name is, think about that, guys. On turn 4, you might be able to play out or excuse me, it would have to be on turn 5. Well, excuse me, I say turn 5. I mean on a 5 dawn turn, you can swing for 6 with your leader to cheat out a 5 or less character, cost 5 or less Shandian Warrior Sky Island character, and then play out your own and holy package. This seems like it's going to be pretty decent, to be honest, guys. This card seems pretty decent. This leader and this effect. So in a vacuum, again, I have no idea what kind of support the leader's going to have completely yet. I haven't looked into it enough. But looking at this leader, I think that this is probably, I would give this effect like a 7 out of 10. Only assuming one thing. You know, we have to assume that there is something that you can run with this effect, just like with Chopper. I don't know how many animal or Drum Kingdom characters they're going to be. But if there are some Shandian warriors you can pop out with this effect, I think it's like an easy 7 out of 10. But then, if they get support where you can play out a 10 cost, that would just be absolutely insane. I seriously doubt they'll ever do that, but we'll have to see what they do in the future. Let's look at the alt art and then do some finishing thoughts on this before we move on to like my thoughts on where these will stack up in the meta. Okay, this alt art is crazy. It's like goofy. I'm not really sure what to think of it. He's got his tongue out. You know, maybe that's something to do with the anime or the manga. I don't know. Excuse me. I'm not a huge fan of this one. It's just kind of crazy out there, goofy. Whereas I think the standard art is even better. So, okay, the tongue's out in this one as well. He's got the spear. The hand is outstretched. Love this composition here. This is a really nice one. Whereas this one's just, again, I feel like there is a way to make these portrait-style picture alt arts more interesting. And I can prove there's a way to do it because this one was. Like, the Charlotte Pudding one was actually very interesting, where how the hands are in the picture and the way she's, like, you know, enticing you in with, you know, with her beauty, you know, giving you the little, the side eye there. And then you have King, at least has like the flames in the background, but then you go back to like this Marco one. It just the way it came out was incredible, with like the flames back there and all that. Very interesting. Okay, I know that's picky, guys. Who cares about that stuff? But being an art teacher, of course, I have to at least draw attention to it. Okay, so final thoughts on this guy. Like I said, I think I'll give this like a 7.5 out of 10. I don't think the effect is insanely broken because there is so much removal in the game right now. But it's also very powerful. It's potentially very powerful. Where it's like, if this gets enough support, it could be like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 type of effect. But on paper, in a vacuum, just what it is, the ability to cheat out cards for free, just for swinging for 6, I'm a big fan of that. I'm a huge fan of that. You do have to lose a life card for it, but you are drawing. You're not trashing the life card. You're adding it to your hand. So who knows? If they print enough support that allows you to gain life, this effect could be like really incredible, right? Good stuff. Okay, so that's it for the leader breakdown of each one. Now we're going to go over some little lists. Hang on, let me see. Yeah, it's on this one. So first and foremost, where do I think these characters are, or these leaders rather, where do I think these leaders are going to fit in the meta? Let me scroll down just a little bit more to line it up perfect. Okay, where do I think these leaders are going to fit in the meta? Well, currently, like if you're trying to, like, notice how I broke this down into red decks, green decks, blue, purple, black, and yellow. I had to do white for black because the font is black, and if I did black, it like wouldn't show up. But for red decks right now in the current format, especially in the West, we are still seeing Whitebeard, little bit of Zoro, but in OP-07, I think some people might swap over to Dragon because he does have the Revo army types. Maybe he'll be able to make something work there with a Karasu and you know, that whole package. Now for green, we're seeing very, very steady Jewelry Bonnie. I put, some of these are dual colored leaders, guys, so you have to bear with me here. Like, I put Yamato in green because I think her main package is green, especially if you're going for more of the lockdown effects that green can do. But you can also build this character more yellow, where you have more life gain. Okay, you see hopefully y'all see what's going on here. For the decks that are red, I put those in like a rush category. These decks that are trying to be like overly aggressive in the format. That's why I don't have Law up in the red. And yes, I understand it has rush cards. Well, so does Yamato. So does, you know, there are rush cards in almost every color now, I think. In fact, there might be at least one rush card in every single color now, but it's not about that. It's about what is the deck trying to do. And the reason I have Law down here in purple is it's really trying to mess around with the Dawn, manipulate it in that way to push cards around, draw cards with Reiju, and go about it that way. But yeah, as far as Yamato goes, I would consider like the best version of this, like a Land of Wano Fortress style build, where it's more about just locking your opponent out of the game and then slowly whittling them down, you know, inch by inch with your leader effect and other super big cards for later in the game. So green is kind of like this board lock control, and I think Bonnie's like at the top of that list, going into OP-07 and then eventually going into OP-08. Boa Hancock and Doflamingo, I think, are at the top of blue, unless you want to count Bonnie. This is an alt win condition. I just included it because it is very competitive. As far as purple goes, like I said, you can consider red, purple, law, red or purple. It's up to you because it's almost a dead even split where it's like 50% red, 50% purple. But Reiju is like 100% purple. I think it's like 90-something percent purple. I think it runs 4 Kayas for blue, and that's it for 2K counters. So for purple, you know, that's a very open spot. We'll have to see what we can do there. For the black decks, though, this spot is, man, it is very full, which concerns me about black purple or purple black king. Maybe this becomes more of like a purple style deck with some black support. I understand, and again, Perona I know is a green and black deck, but it really operates like a black deck where you're just tapping things down and KOing them. Right? Same thing with black yellow Luffy. Yeah, it's black and yellow, but it's really just yellow. Like if you look at the deck, it's like Reiju. We're like, yeah, there's about 5, or excuse me, there's 4 Sabos and 4 Gecko Morias in black yellow Luffy, and that's it. The rest of the entire deck is yellow, and it's all about gaining life and comboing out in that way. And then Enel is obviously yellow. So where do I think these leaders fit amongst them? Like, okay, it is going to be hard for me. This was going back to when we were judging the Carrot card. I just have these in alphabetical order, guys. It's like Carrot, Chopper, whatever, Kalgara, King, Marco, and Pudding. So it's just an alphabetical order down here. Obviously, this is going to, you know, Bonnie obviously, or Carrot obviously goes against Bonnie. So this is going to come down to which leader do you think is better and which one has better support. I'm just telling you guys right now, I think Bonnie's going to be stronger than Carrot. I could be wrong. I have not gone over every single card in OP-08 yet. Maybe there's a broken combo I'm not aware of yet. And if you guys know of anything, tell me down in the comment section below. But currently speaking, excuse me, I don't think that this leader, Carrot, can compete with Jewelry Bonnie or even Yamato if that's built more in the green, in more down the green cards. And then on top of that, I don't think it will be able to even compete with like Doflamingo or something like that, or even Film Uda. I didn't, you know, green purple Doflamingo is kind of a mix of green and purple. Like it's a very strong mix of green and purple, but I would consider it more green because it's more about locking down your opponent's board, and then it uses purple as like a complementary color. But what else? You know, with green purple Doflamingo and green Uda, mono green Uda, Film Uda, I actually think that Carrot gets pretty highly outclassed. I don't see her doing well in the format because of that, unfortunately. We'll have to see what kind of support she gets along the way. As far as Chopper goes, this is obviously going to go up here. In my opinion, this is all about red with like rushing and buffing. Like there might not be a ton of rush cards within the animal stuff. I have no idea. But I'll say this. I think it's going to be more about filling out the board and just rushing your opponent down, just beating them down. It's not. I don't think it's going to be built to lock down. Maybe it will be. We'll see. But I think it's going to be built more around the rush aspect of it. And if that's the case, why wouldn't you just run Zoro to just get more benefits that way? Whitebeard is always just an incredibly solid deck. And I think Dragon is starting to see a tiny bit of play, but not much, to be honest. If people want to go red, they're probably just going to go with red, purple, law. It is what it is. Even though, like I said, I still consider this more of a purple combo Dawn deck. It still does have a lot of the red aspects, you know, baked into it. So yeah. For yellow, this guy Kalgara is interesting. Okay, Kalgara is interesting. I'm going to say that right now because this is almost built like a mid-range deck. I almost want to put this like under blue or green, but it's a yellow deck because it's dealing with life manipulation and it has the Sky Island package. I almost feel like they should have made this into like some type of like blue-yellow leader or green-yellow leader. I don't know because you're trying to like ramp out the board, but you are manipulating your life. Excuse me. And then the question becomes, you know, do you think this will be able to compete against Enel? Or Black Yellow Luffy, and maybe it can. I don't really know, guys. I'm just being honest with you. I don't really know, so it's kind of hard to say. Honestly, I think Enel will still be better than Kalgara, but we'll have to see. One thing I will say about Kalgara though is if you high roll with this, like think of it like this. Okay, I don't know how the decks are going to be built completely yet, but thinking of it like theoretically, like purely in a theoretical standpoint. If Kalgara high rolls, where it's like, okay, I will go, you know, let's say they go second and everything. Turn 2 or turn 1 pass. Turn 2, your opponent attacks, maybe you counter out. Let's not take the hit just yet. Okay, but then your turn 2 for forward on, you play out Ohm Holy and just ramp out some cards, right? And then the next turn, if you get another Ohm Holy and you cheat a card out with the leader's effect, drawing a card from life to refill your hand a little bit, I don't know. I think that could be pretty decent. That's all I'm going to say. I think it could be pretty decent. Maybe we'll be able to compete with Enel, but maybe not. We'll have to see. Sorry if that was like a non-answer. I'm just going to be honest, guys. I don't know how to rate that one. I have no idea what to say. I need to see more of the package for this. Now, King I do know a little bit about. Let me say this, guys. The leaders I know the most about are Purple Black King and Red Blue Marco. And a little bit of Purple Yellow Pudding. Because they've kind of had a buzz around them. People are really excited because of these leader effects. They think they're going to be pretty decent. And I've done an entire video talking about a combo with King. I'll try to add that down in the comment section below if I don't forget. I would put King actually closer to like Purple, believe it or not. But then again, I've seen two ways to build it, and they're not sure how to build it yet. Let me say it like this. If this becomes like the premier Purple deck with just a little bit of black support, I think this does push past Reiju. Reiju is still a very good deck, by the way, guys. But if you run this as more of like a Purple ramp deck with just cards like black cards that are just support like Sabo and like Rebecca or maybe even Gecko, and then just everything else is Purple ramp and the new 10 cost Kaido we'll talk about. There's a new 10 cost Kaido Linlin combination card, and it's very strong, guys. I'll talk about that more as we get to it. And I did mention it in the video I was referencing, you know, with Purple Black King in it. So I think this probably takes the place as like one of the top Purple decks in the format. But who knows? There might be a reason to build this more in like the black card route, because black cards are very strong right now, and this does have ways to Dawn minus on the actual leader itself, and to draw cards later in the game, which drawing cards is not something black does super well. It's pretty good at cycling cards, but actually drawing cards, there's not a lot of really good draw cards within the black card pool. So so this leader could end up being a very strong black leader, like primarily black, or purple. I think that King can kind of go either way. Excuse me. Next up is Marco. Now, Marco, I think, will actually be more of a blue deck. That might sound strange, guys, but I think it's going to use more of the blue card pool than it is going to use the... and I actually think it's going to be more like this, personally. Some people might argue that Boa's better than Dofi. I actually think Dofi's better than Boa. That's just me, personally. But as far as, like, Marco goes, I think this could become the, like, premier, like, tempo deck that features both red and blue. And I think it's going to largely revolve around the blue aspect of this leader. The ability to set your top card is going to have a lot to do with how you're going to win the game. Because there's a combo. Let me give you guys a quick combo. It's going to be in the, I'll try to link the red-blue Marco video that I did down in the comment section below for y'all to check that out, you know, if y'all want to see that. But there's going to be a combo where on a 10 Dawn turn, right, if you have a Sanji and a Newgate in hand, that might seem like, oh, now you've got a dead hand. It's like, no, it's actually so insane. Because you're going to attach one Dawn to your leader. You're going to set Newgate on top. You're going to draw a card, first of all. And then set Newgate on top of your life. And then you're going to play out the 9-cost Sanji that plays out the Newgate from the top of your deck. Now you have a leader coming in for 8k because you attach one Dawn, minus 2,000 power to one of their characters for the turn. And you're off to the races. Your leader's going to be 7k on your opponent's turn. Excuse me. I think this leader is going to be very good, and it's going to be built more along the lines of like blue mid-range control, but it's going to have the access to the red card pool to really help it out and support it. Really good stuff there. Now, I'm going to put Pudding under purple. Like, I understand you're going to be using like nothing but 10 drops that are probably yellow, but you're trying to ramp into them. That's what you're trying to do with the deck. Like what is the deck trying to do? What's trying to get to 10 Dawn as fast as possible? That's what the leader effect does. And honestly, guys, I don't know how else to say it. I feel like it'll probably be on the weaker side of that. It'll probably be battling with Reiju. I feel like for whoever wants to run a better purple deck, even though it's a very different style deck, bear with me, okay? You know, let's not go too crazy. I just think that, like, you know, how do I say this? I don't know how else to say it, guys. I don't think that this leader will be as good as people hope it will be. I could be wrong. And I'm happy with being wrong with some of these guys, because then I get to play a new deck. You know, I get to try out this deck or that, or the other deck. Because remember, guys, I try to collect all the cards. So that way I can play any deck that I want to, anytime I want to. Whenever something becomes good, if you have all the cards, you don't have to go back and buy them all. You know what I mean? I try to keep a strong collection of all the base level, base rarity cards. So I don't mind any of these decks that pop off, but I'm just giving you guys my initial thoughts on it. Okay, now, going from there, here's what I think. Here's the tier list part of it. How do I think these leaders are going to match up, like, just period? You know, like, in the actual format. I think that Red Blue Marco, I'm going to just go in whatever order I want to. I'm sorry, guys. I think Marco will be an A tier leader. I don't know if it's going to be S tier yet. I don't think it has the support it needs. I don't think the format is in the position for it to be an S tier leader just yet. I also think that King will probably be even above Marco on the A tier. I have seen how these decks both run, and they're both pretty solid. They're both trying to creep into the S tier, and there might need to be some adjustments made when I make my actual tier list, like a full-on tier list. There might need to be some adjustments made once they figure out the perfect list to run and how the format is going to be. What is going to be the S tier list in OP-08? We got to figure it out. You know, and a lot of things might change, or some things might not change. You know what I mean? We'll have to see. Because currently I think they have Black, Yellow, Luffy, and Red, Purple, Law as S tier, and then like most of the black decks under that in A tier, and a few other random ones like Yamato. I did a whole video on this recently too. But can these leaders compete against those decks? That becomes the question. I think they can. I think they can at least compete against everything in the A tier, but the S tier stuff is just so strong, guys. And I think it might have only gotten stronger from OP-08. We'll have to see. But Black, Yellow, Luffy is just a juggernaut. If your opponent doesn't have the correct removal at the right time, or like does not know how to play against the deck, it is a real knowledge check of a leader. Black, Yellow, Luffy is. And Red, Purple, Law is just that deck. It's like the new Sakazuki in a weird way, not literally, but like how it just kind of always has an answer, and then it's like, okay, if I don't have an answer, I'll just try to win fast enough to win, you know, before you can win. Okay, I got Carrot down here because I just don't think, I mean, maybe B tier to be nice. Same thing with Chopper. I've got them around B, if not C tier. I don't think these are going to be able to do it. Pudding, I actually have probably at the either the bottom of A or the top of B. We'll have to see. I'll put it at the bottom of A currently, like the bottom of the A tier. And this guy at the top of the B tier. This might, we'll have to see. Maybe somewhere in the middle of the B tier, but I'm just going to keep it like this for now. So, all things considered, I don't think there were any like absolutely terrible leaders in this set. Some people might be, you know, ready to flame me in the comment section like, dude, this leader's trash, or that leader's so good, or this, that, and the other. But this is just my initial impression of how I think things are going to go. I actually don't think we're going to see a leader from OP-08 that ascends into the S tier. But if there is, I think it will probably be King or Marco. That's like my, I guess that's my final answer, right? I think, let me summarize like this. I think that King and Marco have the highest chance to ascend into S tier. I don't think Pudding's making it out of A tier. And these might fall down to like, maybe like B or C tier. Like somewhere along these lines, I think. And who knows, Kalgara might make it into A tier if it's fast enough, if it got enough support. So all right, that's it for the actual predictions, guys. Let's do the game on the sim and start wrapping this video up. I've been rambling for way too long at this point. And again, guys, I want to hear what y'all think down in the comment section below, but let's at least keep it respectful. You know, I know a lot of these tier lists can be very polarizing when, like, you know, your favorite leader, you know, a content creator doesn't think it's as good as you do. It can be kind of, it can get kind of violent down in the comment section, and I don't want that. So, excuse me. Let me cough real quick, guys. Okay, sorry about that. So first up here, we got not first up. This is the only game we got today. Let me rewind a little bit. We got Red Green Oden versus Red Purple Law. Let me tell you guys right away, I think Red Green Oden is actually decent into Red Purple Law. I know y'all are probably like rolling your eyes like, oh man, here we go. No, guys, for real. Like, hear me out. You're like a 6,000 base power leader starting on turn 3, even if you went first. So, all right, here we go. What's that card, Izo, by the way, you might want to, if you're going against Red Purple Law, you might want to aggressively mulligan into Izo because it is so important, especially if you're going first. Okay, otherwise you might be able to find it with Momonosuke. Okay, right here I think I go for a 2K counter. Yep, I go ahead and grab the new, this is an OP-07 list, by the way, guys. It is running the new 1-cost Otama. Okay, so my opponent got a pretty decent start there, but they didn't swing in with Ain. For some reason, they're probably trying to like not attack in with it, like so that I can't start eating up their board. Now they can't, by the way, because I'm a 6,000 power leader. So he gets rid of my first Izo, and I'm just going to keep swinging 7 at him, guys. How many times can you bottom deck my Izo? That becomes the question. 5 into 6, I don't care about that because I'm a 6K leader. He's going to minus 2,000, minus 2,000 again. He gets rid of a second Izo. This is a quick game, by the way, guys. I'm sorry. This is a quick game. He's going to swing 6 into me. It's like, okay, I'll just give you a 1K counter, even though it's a 0 counter, because that's what this leader allows you to do. Okay, then he's going to swing 5 into me, or I don't know what he just did there. Oh, I think he swung into my Momonosuke. Excuse me. So he plays out Kid and Killer. He does not swing, because I have full life, and then I can start bashing into his cards. But I've got bad news for him. He should have just swung, because I'm just going face. Every single card I have is going face. Because I have 2, 4, 6, 8,000 power and counter in hand, and I have 4 life. So I'm like, dude, I hope you got a blocker in your hand, because I'm about to run you over next turn, bud. You know, and I can pop anything I want to with that Ryuma, by the way. Anything that Purple Law runs, except the 5-cost stuff, you can pop with your Ryumas. Now, right there, I actually just use it because I'm going to go for game this turn. It's going to be swing 11, GG. Or swing 11, swing 12. And that's that. Like I said, if you don't... Like, he had those blockers. He should have forced a blocker down. But other than... excuse me, the only one that would have mattered actually would have been... what's his name? The 5-cost king or queen. 5-cost queen or 5-cost, what's it called? Queen or Eustace Kid. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Because other than that, I'm just going to tap it down with my Izo and just run past you. So good stuff there. This list is very fun. Let me go and bring... That's how fast this game was, guys. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to play out a 5-cost every single turn and go face every single turn and just counter out of everything you do because I'm going to be a 6,000 base power leader and I'm going to swing for 7 or more every time. And this is the list I was running there. This is a very fun leader. I think one thing I want to do soon, guys, as soon as OP-07 does get very close for us over in the East, or excuse me, for us over in the West, I'm probably going to be putting out a video talking about some leaders I recommend you try, going into OP-07 just to have fun. Not like a top deck, because we already know what the top decks are from OP-07. They've been playing them for the past 3 months in the East, right? We already know what they are. Excuse me. But here we go, guys. This is the list. I'll run through it real quick, and we'll talk about it real quick before wrapping up. 4 Izos, 4 of the 2K counter Yamato. That's a 5-cost. This is a new EB01 card. It's a 5-cost, 5,000 power 2K counter. Very solid. Activate main once per turn. Give up to 1 rested Dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. So understand what that means. Now you don't just need the Izo here to attach 1 Dawn to your leader right on turn 3 on the play to go to 7,000. You can actually play out your 2K counter, and then you can get the effect from him. I'll read him in just a second. We'll go over it. And the same thing with Izo. But I'm running 4 of these. 4 of the Otama, 4 Hiyori, 4 Yamasan. I think it's named Mountain King or something like that in the actual game, like the actual translation. 4 Izo, 4 Kikus. This is old from OP-01, guys. Old card. 4 Momonosuke, also from OP-01. Excuse me. 4 Denjiro, way back from OP-01. 4 Kazuki Oden, the 8-cost. 4 Ryuma, 4 of the new Otamas from OP-07, and 4 You Can Be My Samurai. So generally speaking, guys, this list is actually pretty cheap. I don't think these Odins are super expensive right now. The only cards that are getting kind of expensive, I think, is actually Izo right here, because this is just it's an uncommon from OP-01 that's used in like 90% of green decks or decks that run green. So this card is actually more expensive than it should be. I think it's like $7 or $8 a card, I think, at this point. I'll actually bring it up while we're talking about it, because it is, we do need to know that. Let me bring it up. Excuse me. It's $5 a card. Excuse me. It's $5 a card. So that's, that's not the end of the world, but at the same time, that's, more expensive than we want to spend on it, right? And with Oden, this one's also $5 a card at the time of me recording this video. Prices do fluctuate. Prices do change. But just know, guys, other than this card right here, Kazuki Oden, and this card right here, Kikinojo, or Okiku, this is a very cheap list, right? So $10 for all of these, $20 for all of these, and everything else is probably going to be very cheap. We don't know how expensive Otama will be just yet. We have no idea of knowing. We have no way of knowing how expensive this will be for us over in the West. But it's just a rare, so I couldn't imagine it being like more than $3. Momonosuke, let me look up this one real quick. Okay, I just completely butchered. Okay, it found it anyway. That card's about $4 a piece right now. So if you are interested in a deck that's just kind of decent, and it's actually pretty decent into Red Purple Law, this is something for you to mess around with. And before we get access to the new 1-cost Otama from OP-07, just throw any 2K counter here you want to. Like if we just sort by 2K counters. I mean literally whatever 2K counter you want to. Because I don't think there is another Land of Wano 2K counter in here. Or is there? Hang on. I'm running Izos, Otamas, Yamatos, and... Yeah, I'm running 16 2K counters, by the way. Maybe even, I mean, I guess you could try to run like Carrot for the time being, even though it does not benefit from your leader. Let me read the leader real quick, guys. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place right now. This is just a 5,000 power 4-life leader, and according to the rules, your character cards with the type Land of Wano without a counter have plus 1,000 counter. So you can like trash. That's why I was able to trash Ryuma for a 1k counter, even though it has no counter because it is Land of Wano. But back to the other effect. Dawn ×1 when attacking. If you have a cost 5 or greater Land of Wano character in play, this leader gets plus 1,000 power until the start of your next turn. Excuse me. So like, you know, when you swing in with cards like Izo here, or excuse me, when you have a card like Izo down, it attaches this card on play, attach up to 1 Rested Dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. This Yamato, give up to 1 Rested Dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. So if you play these out, these are 5 cost Land of Wano cards right on turn. If you're on the play where you have 5 Dawn, they call that on the play if you go first. If you go first and you get to 5 Dawn on turn 3 like normal, and you play out Izo or Yamato, this leader's 6,000 power, but he's swinging for 7k on that turn, and now you have a 5 cost on the board that can swing for you next turn. And that's why I run a lot of 2k counters, guys. Number 1, the Izo here, this is just an incredible, strong utility 2k counter. Otama's a good 2k counter, and then this Otama, same thing. This is really just Land of Wano searchable, that's why it's in the deck. And it's actually not Land of Wano searchable by Otama, because it's not green, and it's named Otama, so I can't search up with this, but Momonosuke can. Momonosuke can search up every single card in this deck. That's one more thing I want to mention, guys. If you don't want to run, like before OP-07 comes out, before we have access to this Otama card, there are other cards you can put here. Like, and I think one of the best cards would be Newgate, Edward Newgate. This card right here, excuse me. Remember, even though this is not searchable by any of the Land of Wano type stuff, here's the nice thing about it. If you have an Izo down, notice what this card does for the secondary effect. When an opponent attacks once per turn, you may trash 1 card from your hand, and if your leader has the Land of Wano or Whitebeard Pirates type, give up to one of your opponent's leader or character cards minus 2,000 power for this turn. So you can still use this effect with a card like Newgate, but otherwise, if you ramp up into this card, you know, it's just pure value, right? It's just straight value. So yeah, let me, guys, I always forget to move my face for this part. I'm sorry, guys. I was talking about this card, obviously. Let me go through the rest real quick so you guys can at least, like, pause and read this if you need to. This is the Izo card we were talking about, the Yamato. Now, we didn't even talk about Hiyori yet, but real quick before we do that, this Kazuki Oden is actually very strong in this deck if you can drop it, because it has, first of all, it can just destroy your opponent, right? To activate main, once per turn, pay 3, set this character as active. So you can swing in for, like, attach 1 Dawn to him, right? Swing for 9, pay 3, stand him up, swing for 9 again. That is massive. And then that also goes with your leader, of course. They're both Oden. But this card, Denjiro, goes perfectly with this Oden. Because look at this. Dawn ×1 when attacking. He's a 5 cost 7k, by the way. Land of Wano searchable. Dawn ×1 when attacking. If your leader's Kazuki Oden, set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active. It's just so good, guys. Really, really powerful effect there. But the second part of this is actually stronger than it looks, too. Because look at this. On KO, play up to 1 Wano Country Land of Wano type character card with a cost of 3 from your deck. Then shuffle your deck. Now, it is with a cost of 3. But we have 2 targets, right? We can hit this Kikanojo if we want to be more aggressive. Or we can even hit this Izo if we want to be more like defensive. And I say defensive because think about it. If they KO this character, it's probably on their turn. So if we cheat it into playing Izo, it can rest one of their 4-cost characters on their turn. You see what I'm saying? So that is very solid. And now we have a body on the board we can attach Dawn to later. Very solid stuff there. Okay, I think we talked about most of the rest of these. Izo, yeah, Yamato. We went over everything. Oh, Hiyori real quick. So this character right here, this is Land of Wano. This came out EV01. This can cheat out like 3 relevant characters in this deck, guys. It can cheat out the Izo, it can cheat out the Denjiro, or it can cheat out Yamasan, or Mountain King, whatever his name is. These are all 5 cost 7Ks, what I just said there, guys. Think about that for a second. So if you play this on turn 2, like in your, say you go second, where it's a 4 Dawn turn, you can play this card out to cheat out a card like Izo or Yamato, right? Can it cheat out, hang on, a Land of Wano type character other than this card? It doesn't matter what color it is, right? Did I read that right? Y'all help me out if I missed something in the comment section below. So there are 4 relevant targets, guys. You can cheat out Yamasan, Denjiro, Yamato, or Izo. But Izo is like the big one, right? Let's say perfect pull. Play out Hiyori on 4 Dawn. cheat out Izo, which attaches one of those Restodon to your leader. Now you have a 7k attack this turn, a 6,000 power leader, and a 7k body on the board. Just so good, guys. It's just so good. So yeah, that's about it, though, guys. I don't have a lot more to say. If you guys have any comments, questions, suggestions about the list, by all means, put them down in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed the little tier list we went over. That was a lot of fun to make. I think I can't wait for OP-08, but and I'm glad we're getting into this point now where we can start talking about the cards. Because really, the only thing that was holding me back from doing the cards earlier is I always wait for Bandai to release the English translation of the card. And I'll try to link that down in the comment section below as well if you want to do a sneak peek into all the cards coming out. Because they finally, on their English version of the Eastern website, that sounds really confusing, I'm sorry, they finally have the full translations for all of OP-08. So I will link that down below for the people who do want to go ahead, do some homework, and be ready to make comments on my next 6 videos, right? Because I have my next 6 videos coming up are going to be red, green, blue, purple, black, yellow for OP-08, full breakdowns of each set. Just giving you guys a heads up. All right, I'm done rambling, guys. Hope you all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, peace. Oh, almost forgot the patrons page. Big thanks to all my patrons and everybody who helps and supports the channel. Just liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, viewing it. I appreciate you guys. I really do. And big thanks to all of my patrons over here. Y'all are the best, guys. All right. Now, until next time, guys, peace.